Hey guys, welcome back to Film Recap. Here today, I'm going to explain a movie called Lolita. The film begins in 1947. A professor named Humbert. He intends to go to America by train. He accepts an internship at a university. He lives in the house of a widow named Charlotte. After Charlotte showed him, she takes into her own messy house park. Humbert was surprised to see the Charlotte family. His daughter Lolita is lying on top. I can see through the grass on her belly. Look while it's drizzling. When Law notices him, she glares at him. Smiling, she showed off her men. She emphasized her young age of 14. Lolita reminds Humbert of her first love. Her name was Annabelle, and she died shortly after that. He fell in love with her when she had them teenager. Even if my beloved child is gone, I kept looking for her even when she grew up until I grow up. Years pass, painfully and humbly secretly look like a child and dance. Music-obsessed Lolita appears. She has no interest in him. You can see Lolita's room from his room. Humbert wants an accident that creates it. Destroyed Charlotte and everyone else. The way she does it, he can let Lolita inside himself weapons. Suddenly Lolita came into his room. Start annoying him. She's sitting on his lap. And she smears the gum she has. She chews his notebook and stares at him. And you say you get pimples easily, Humbert. She says it looks like it. Perfect for him, and they both smile. Lolita gets up and runs out of his room. When she hears her mother's phone in her room. Humbert. When it's time for Lolita to leave. Boarding school girlfriend and her house. Mother keeps arguing while walking. She doesn't want to go, so she goes to the cargo. Just as Lolita got in the car, she noticed the Humberts watching them from their window. Then Lolita rushed back to her house. She climbs the stairs. I frowned and kissed him. She will retire soon. If she says anything else, she runs back car, and you keep going, Humbert. The other hand enters Lolita's room. She jumps into her closet. When she hears her maid calling, he straightened her up to see her. She gives him a letter, and he reads it, and realized it was from Charlotte. She confesses her love to him. She wants him to be her husband and Lolita's father. Humbert, of course, is drawn to it. Last part, they're getting married in 2 weeks. Lolita is absent from the ceremony. Despite Charlotte's dedication to Humbert, he's been ignoring her for 6 weeks. Humbert, successfully married, avoids most of her marital obligations by giving Charlotte sleeping pills. One day, when Humbert came home, Charlotte cried reading his diary, in which he called her big cow, old, stupid, and obnoxious. Charlotte gets angry and upset when she calls. He's an abominable criminal monster. She swears if she goes. Humbert will never see Lolita again. Humbert is at a loss, and she doesn't know what to do. Then he goes to get her something to drink for her. Soothe her girlfriend. Suddenly the phone rings. Caller says her wife did it. Died, and Charlotte was also hit. Car in front of her house, little girl. Give Humbert a letter explaining this. When she was about to email, she humbly receives a letter hit. And she goes back to the house where she can stop. He pretends to take care of his wife's death. After a while, Humbert drives to the camp. Choose Lolita. She will greet you with Lolita on the hamburger. She has a bright smile and calls him daddy when she's around. I can see him. Lolita asks him how he's doing in the car. Her mother does, and Humbert replies. Even doctors aren't sure. She doesn't know that her mother died. Then Lolita goes to the back seat. Change clothes while Humbert is watching rearview mirror. Humbert pulls her girlfriend and kisses her. She said she missed it out of her head. But Lolita don't care, she says. About her, she mainly he hasn't kissed her yet. Humbert stopped. She kisses her, and they stop when her cop stops. She stops next to them and asks them. Later they found a blue car, arrived at the hotel while Humbert was there. Talked to her receptionist, Lolita. She crawls up to the dog and starts playing pranks. Play with it. The dog's owner is a wealthy and considerably older man. Perfectly dressed man. Mysterious man has a dog. She likes him, but he doesn't like her. every Lolita gives him a naughty smile. Lolita answers in her own room. Humbert can't believe it's going to happen. She shares a bed in the same room. Her Humbert tries to convince her she can. If she wants her, please bring her a crib. She talks about the fact that her mother divorced him, strangle her if her girlfriend finds out, in different tone. Humbert declares himself responsible for her happiness as a father, and, because they are not rich, I have to share a room while traveling. Enjoy dinner together. Lolita points to one of the men inside. A stand showing that he has it watch over her. I am the owner of the lounge dog. She recognizes Claire Kilty, playwright, when the two return to the room. Humbert took off his Lolita shoes and socks. She wants to tell him how she is, with heavy eyes in the muffled silence of the camp. Agree, but Humbert insists on waiting. See you in the morning, before going to the hotel. Veranda Lolita, good night. You hear it when the Humber comes out on the porch. She speaks softly as she shakes in him. Chair, where the hell did you get that? Then ask who the girl is, and when Humbert says she belongs to him. Her daughter Kilty says it's her. Liar. When he finds out about her, he invites her to lunch. This Lolita's mother is dead. Humbert politely rejects Humbert. Back to her room where he is lying. Small part of the bed with Lolita not growing. Lolita wakes up with a kiss the next morning. He gently pulled off Humbert's trousers. Leave him in pure bliss. After leaving the hotel by car, failed several times to talk, she asks if Lolita can stop at the gas station. Railway station. When I got to the gas station, Lolita rushed to her shop. She asks for coins when she comes back. Humber so she can call her mother. She hobbles in disbelief and tells her to do so. Get back in your car, Humbert. She tells her mother is dead. We slept in separate beds that night, Lolita. Screaming and heartbroken wails. She was devastated by the death of her mother. She's still sobbing. The girl has finally found. She heads to Humbert's bed where he tries. Then they started to comfort her. Travel a lot around the country. It's rural, but it takes Lolita after a while. When I finally got there, with a grumpy face, one person, she gives Humber a cold look in advance. She ignores him while he checks on her. Sad Lolita later screams time. Humbert passes by and decides to enroll. Pretend her daughter is getting ready for Beardsley School. When talking to management, they emphasize that Beardsley prep. Emphasis on theater and dance and date. When they say dating, they're referring to boys. Of course, Humbert gets annoyed afterwards. Sometimes Lolita talks to Humber at school. She wants to participate in a play, but he refuses. She rocks his chair with her leg. She tells him she has the right to appear in the play. She then proceeds to tease Humber. She negotiates both her pocket money and hers. Participation in theater, Humber gets more in return. Schoolgirl Mona arguing with Humber. While Lolita is rehearsing for her role, playing the role of a witch at a school arts festival, she pointed to a man standing nearby. Quit smoking and tell him it's soft. Playwright. Humbert became nervous, doubtful. He's afraid, she said. Principal about their relationship. At home, Humbert asks Lolita about it. Skipping piano practice, maybe reveal her relationship with her friend. Humbert kicks his foot off the ground. Their discussion heats up at the table. She yells at him to leave her alone. She admits that she tried to get away from him, money she earned. Humbert slaps her face, and Lolita confronts him by repeatedly telling him to kill her, as he did to her mother. Then she ran away from him. A killer screaming and screaming. Like her run down the stairs, she grabs her bike and runs. Later that night, it finally rained in Humbert. Find it in store. Lolita tells him, I want to leave Beardsley at once. Take another trip. This time she will decide where, then go home. The next day they leave Beardsley and leave. Anywhere Lolita wants. But they drive along the Humber. She found herself being tracked. He gives Lolita her car registration number. Write it down for her and tell her the detective chases him. One day, Humbert stops at a gas station, and he goes to try on some glasses. When he looks out the window, he sees Lolita talking to a man, but the man did. The hamburger was gone. While I was in a hurry of worried, Humbert got into the car. When she asks about him, she explains. The man asked if he had a card. The two end up staying indoors. Humbert becomes skeptical and wary. I see the same car when I look out the window, chase them outside. When they are watching back to Lolita, she was watching him. She gave him a derisive smile. Suddenly, Humbert pushed her onto the bed and asked her who it is. But she kept laughing at him. Humbert becomes more and more desperate. He is about to cry. Humbert wakes up in a violent storm. Humiliating, so scary, almost disorienting. He's insane, but he's regained some sort of sanity. After washing his face, he takes the gun out of the case and stare at him. Nothing special about him hand. They walk past another inn. A rainy night presented by Mrs. Humbert. Her Zimmer Humbert noticed Lolita sitting, pale and trembling on the ground. The doctor informs Humbert of this. It's just a virus and nothing to do with it. Worry Humbert wants to be with her. But this, doctors told him it was best to do so. Leaf. Humbert will call the next morning. Inquire about Lolita's condition at the hospital. The nurse told him he woke up. He was discharged without fever. The man is supposed to be her uncle. Humbert searched far and wide for months. And he goes far from hotel to hotel. At the inn, he learned to recognize that kidnapper's handwriting, but the trace cold and die. A dead end, he must return to Beardsley. 3 years later, Humbert. You'll receive a letter that begins with Dear Dad, what about me? A baby will be born while he is reading this letter. Tears flow down Humbert's house cheek. Lolita asks for money with her. Her husband can't pay her debt invoice. Humbert drove to his address. He finds a dusty, dilapidated house. When he finally reunited with Lolita, besides, she's not as flashy as she used to be, holding someone else's big belly boy. She smiles brightly and welcomes him as her daddy, and she lets him in. Humbert looks at her husband. She went to the back door and realized he wasn't the man he is looking. He asks Lolita who kidnapped her. Lolita was Claire Quilty, she admits. She tells Humbert about Killy, who she liked little girls, and she always had them by her side. Ville. He kicked her out because her girlfriend refused. Follow requested quilts. Humbert looked at her and he knew he was. Here he loves her more than anything world. He asks her to walk 25 steps. Took him to an old car she knew well. She refused it, but he gave it to her with a smile. Opening her envelope, she found $4,000 there. But while he watched her make it, money, Humbert starts crying. Humbert. Disappointed, he returned to his car. Imagine everything. Lolita 3 years ago, dressed up and waving. Humbert then goes to Kilty's house. No worries at the luxurious Villa Curti about Humbert's existence, even if he take out the gun. Humbert shot him and the man died his bed. Police followed, another. A group of police officers block his way. Humbert moves into his own space, give up. Humbert died on November 16, 1950. Coronary thrombosis, prison. Lolita died in her crib on Christmas. 1 month later, the movie ends here. Subscribe for more videos, turn on notifications.